Parliament descended into absolute chaos on Tuesday as EFF leader Julius Malema delivered a thunderous and unfiltered response to the explosive testimony of General Fannie Mkhwanazi, a moment that many are already calling one of the most jaw-dropping episodes in South Africa's recent political memory. The setting was tense from the start. Mkhwanazi, who had been called to testify before the Parliamentary Committee on National Security and Intelligence Oversight, had dropped bombshell after bombshell, from alleged political interference in SAPS leadership to claims of covert instructions from unnamed senior ANC figures. But no one was prepared for the firestorm that followed when Malema took the mic. The moment the chairperson handed him the floor, Julius Malema stood slowly, adjusted his red beret, and launched into what quickly became an unrelenting, emotionally charged tirade that rattled not only the ANC benches but stunned the entire chamber into a stunned silence. "You sat there and exposed what we have been shouting about for years. Political capture of our security services. Corruption that runs deeper than the roots of this parliament." Malema began, his voice rising with each syllable. What began as sharp commentary soon spiraled into a blistering attack on the ANC government. Malema pointed fingers directly at certain ministers, accusing them of deliberately weakening state institutions for personal and political survival. He accused Mkhwanazi's higher-ups of setting him up to fail and leaving him out to dry now that the truth was surfacing. But it wasn't just the content of Malema's speech that shook the room, it was the delivery. He shouted. He gestured wildly. At one point, he slammed his hand on the podium, causing a microphone to crackle under pressure. "We cannot have a police force that takes orders from Luthuli House instead of from the Constitution. That is treason," he bellowed, glaring across the aisle at the ANC MPs, many of whom avoided eye contact, shuffling papers nervously. The Speaker of Parliament attempted several times to call Malema to order, warning him about unparliamentary language and wild accusations, but he was undeterred. In fact, the repeated attempts to silence him only emboldened his fire. "You can mute my mic, Speaker, but you cannot mute the truth. South Africans are watching. And what Mkhwanazi has said here today is confirmation of what millions already knew: the ANC has turned the state into a shadow of its former self." At that point, ANC Chief Whip Phemi Majidina attempted to interject, calling Malema's accusations baseless and slanderous, which only added fuel to the flames. What followed was a near brawl as EFF MPs stood in solidarity with Malema, some shouting across the chamber, while ANC MPs countered, creating a cacophony of outrage, chants, and finger-pointing. Security was nearly called in as the Speaker suspended proceedings temporarily, calling for a cooling-off break. Outside the chamber, reporters caught up with Malema as he left for a brief recess, and his words were just as charged. "General Mkhwanazi is not a saint. He is part of a rotten system, but today he told the truth. The ANC wanted to use him, and when he refused to play dirty, they discarded him. We are not shocked. We are vindicated." Social media exploded within minutes, with #Malema vs Mkhwanazi testimony trending across platforms. Clips of the speech were shared thousands of times within hours, with many South Africans expressing outrage, support, or sheer disbelief at what had unfolded in the legislative chambers. Political analysts are now describing this moment as a turning point, not just for Mkhwanazi, but for how Parliament engages with whistleblowers, state institutions, and deep-rooted political interference. Dr. Thobani Mbeel, a political science lecturer at Wits University, said on ENCA, "Malema's speech today was theatre, yes, but it was also truth-telling at its rawest. His response captured the national frustration. Whether you agree with him or not, it's clear this testimony and his reaction to it have shaken the foundations of what many thought was business as usual in Parliament." Meanwhile, opposition parties are now calling for a full inquiry into the allegations Mkhwanazi raised, and some are even demanding resignations from implicated individuals, something the ANC is resisting, calling it political opportunism. Still, one thing is clear: Julius Malema's reaction didn't just light a fire in Parliament, it may have ignited a national reckoning.